Stepping off the plane, I can't help but feel myself swaying a bit under the weight of the jet lag my body's experiencing. My eyelids are heavy, but the lively atmosphere in Newark Liberty International Airport jolts me awake. My adventure starts right here. The faint smell of coffee wafts through the air, mingling with the scent of airport food and the sound of foreign conversations echoing through. There's a bustling family ahead. The dads wrestling with luggage while the kids chase after one another, giggling and shrieking with delight. Seeing them pulls at an old memory of me as a kid, going on vacation with my parents. Back then, every trip was an adventure, but this is an adventure of my own making, and I can't help but be excited for what lies ahead. The vision of the urban skyline peeking through the airport windows sparks an idea for a painting. It's a mishmash of the old and the new, and it feels like the city itself is inviting me on an exciting journey. This trek from Shanghai to Seoul, and now to New York. It's like painting a picture with every step, each new experience adding a touch of color. The airport hums with different languages, styles, and a palpable sense of excitement. It's as if I've walked into a whole world within these terminal walls. My stomach rumbles, and I'm suddenly craving a steaming bowl of kimchi jjigae from home. But maybe I should try something local instead, a food adventure to kickstart my trip. Pulling my luggage behind me, I navigate through the sea of people moving in various directions, each with a destination, a story of their own. The hum of the announcements over the PA system, the dash to the nearest cafe for a quick caffeine recharge. The familiar rush of exploring somewhere new, it's like a melody playing on a loop. But hey, I'm in New York now. It's all going to be worth it. Just stepping inside the iconic Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum now, and the awe is already starting to set in. The famous spiral structure of the building by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's a piece of art in its own right, twisting upwards like an ivory seashell against the New York sky. It's definitely a sight that leaves you momentarily breathless. As I make my way up through the spiral, each floor reveals a new layer of the art world that's a feast for my senses. I have such a deep admiration for the talented artists whose work graces these walls. I wish my art teacher, Madame Jo, could be with me right now. She would have loved this. There's something about the blend of the contemporary and the classic here that resonates with me. It challenges my notion of art and the way it evolves with time. It's a gentle nudge reminding me to step out of the box with my own paintings, to think apart from landscapes and cityscapes and delve into more abstract concepts. It's not just the art that's fascinating. Observing other visitors, absorbed in their own appreciation of the crafts, there's a sense of solace. It's like we're a part of a silent symphony, each one of us deciding our own rhythm as we navigate through the galleries. It's quite a unique experience of coming together in shared admiration, yet experiencing the art in our own personal ways. Wandering around Central Park right now, the energy of this city is something else, isn't it? Nestled in the heart of all this hustle, there is this serene oasis, pumping its tranquility into the city air. And, oh, the fusion of colors. The green of the trees, the azure sky, the city's concrete gray peeking from afar. It's a ready-made palette on my canvas, urging my sketch pad and colors to dance along. As I sketch, there's a rush of familiarity. It's almost like I'm back in my childhood, diligently filling colors into an empty canvas under Madame Jo's watchful guidance. The same sense of tranquility envelopes me now, helping to erase the borderline drawn by fatigue. A white swan glides by the placid pond, its grace reflected on the shimmering surface. A dab of white, a hint of blue in the reflections, a perfect addition to my sketch. It is interesting how these unexpected encounters, like the swan or a leaf rustling in the wind, find a place in your sketch, as if the universe conspires to make every stroke more meaningful. It's not planned, but it happens. And there's something beautiful about that, don't you think? The melody of the city, the rhythm in strokes, the painting somehow captures all of that. The sirens in the distance, the laughter of children playing near the fountain, fills the air with a kind of music. There are people scattered around, lounging and taking in the calm, just as I am. Some, I observe, seem to be anticipating, perhaps for a friend, a lover, or a sight that rarely makes an appearance. I make eye contact with a lady who's been watching me sketch. She smiles, a friendly gesture that makes my day brighter. Her cheerful yellow sundress is now a splash of color on my park sketch canvas. Do you know the peace that descends when you're involved in something you absolutely love? It's a calm riveting, the world blurring and sharpening at the same time. A family settles near me, the little girl waving happily my way. That wave, that moment, it's now immortalized in my sketch. A treasure trove of candid moments, each telling a story of their own. Isn't that just stunningly remarkable? Now this is a scent that's truly familiar, so tantalizing. It's bulgogi being grilled. Truly, just walking through the streets of Koreatown is a sensory experience. The sizzle you hear from the barbecues, smells of kimchi stew filling the air, and chilled noodles. Now that's a blast from the past. I got to say, you know you're in a good place when just the ambiance makes your mouth water. The sentiment is echoing everywhere here in the restaurant. The mix of chatter and laughter filling the room, the clinking of soju glasses as everyone toasts jeonbae. Jeonbae, which means cheers. The sight of people huddled over their bowls, savoring their food. Now this feels like a slice of soul right in the heart of New York. It's an interesting blend of nostalgia and adventure all rolled into one. Just took my first bite of bibimbap and instantly I'm back home. You know, food does more than satisfy hunger, it can teleport you. And right now, I'm in Seoul, in my little kitchen, learning the precise art of bibimbap assembly. Layering the warm rice, perfectly cooked vegetables, ground beef, and that vibrant gochujang sauce, all topped off with a sunny side-up egg. Each bite is a burst of home. The heat, the spice, the perfect balance of textures. I can't help but smile. It's an eclectic mix here at the restaurant. Families with kids creating a ruckus, couples on their date night laughing in their cozy nooks, and tourists like me absorbing it all. I like to think that food is the universal language, and here everyone's fluently speaking it. There's just something about sharing a meal that brings people together, doesn't it? In every corner of the world, no matter how different we are, we all understand the joy of a good meal. So that was my little excursion to Koreatown, a trot down memory lane, through lanes filled with my favorite Korean dishes. It truly was an unexpected journey to be transported back home, all without leaving New York. It's these unplanned, spur-of-the-moment detours that give vacations an extra zing, isn't it? Yes, there's a huge world out there waiting to be explored, but there's warmth in these little pockets of familiarity, comfort in recognizing smells and flavors from a world away. So here I am, at the Broadway Theater District. You can literally feel the energy in the air. Hard to miss the murmur of the crowd, the upturned faces lit by the vibrant neons, and artistically aged theaters tucked next to pizzerias and dive bars. This place pulsates with life and art seamlessly blended together, watching pedestrians stop to admire the playbills, others rushing with wide smiles. It's a kaleidoscope of emotions filling up the narrow walkways. You know that tingle of anticipation you get before a show, that delicious edge of excitement and nervousness. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. I've got that familiar squeeze of anticipation in my stomach. It's likely not too different than what those actors waiting behind the curtain feel, or maybe what the young artist showcasing her work for the first time feels, but in a different context. Ah, sweet shared thrill of stepping into the unknown. I've stepped into the auditorium and the orchestra is tuning, a chorus of instruments syncopating together. I can't help but be taken back to my ballerina days back home, standing on the wings, just waiting for the music to swell and jump into the choreography. Suddenly the theater lights dim. I imagine pirouetting on the stage amid the opulence, becoming a part of the stardust. It's a fascinating feeling, this immersion. I've always appreciated visual arts, but there's something about the performing arts, the music, the drama, the physicality of it all. It's so expressive, raw, and immediate. You don't just see or hear it. You live it. Kind of like walking around in someone else's shoes for a while, isn't it? With every scene shifting, it's a whole different perspective. It's transformative, and I have to admit, quite exhilarating. Ladies and gentlemen, the curtains rise and the spotlight finds our leading lady. The show has begun. The performers, they're not just good, they're extraordinary, sparks of genius striking like meteors amidst a constellation of talent. You lose yourself and then find bits and pieces of yourself in the characters. I'm not really the one to tear up, but there's an unexpected lump in my throat. Simply put, it's a transcending experience. Walking through the grand corridors of the Met, I came across a Sphinx statue from ancient Egypt. Its stoic expression, the intricate headdress, the cultural relevance it held palpable. Couldn't help but marvel at the craftsmanship that must have gone into carving this piece out of a single block of stone. The antiquity, the mystery, I could almost hear the whispers of the past. The Sphinx, like an all-knowing guardian, stirring a profound sense of curiosity within me. Next, the European paintings section greeted me with its stunning collection. The array of colors, themes, and styles, it was like walking into a treasure trove of creativity. A particular piece caught my eye. It bore a striking resemblance to one of Da Vinci works, and it prompted an urge to sketch in my moleskin. However, as I flaunt my pencil, capturing the essence of art itself, the respect for the unspoken silence of a museum overwhelmed me, and so I simply admired. Further exploring, I stumbled upon the Asian art section. The infusion of nature in art, the richness of colors. It was like stepping into an entirely different world. A repeating motif of waves in almost every piece was a pleasing aesthetic, almost soothing to look at. It made me wonder about the significance of this pattern in the artist's culture or life, and how we often find our own symbols in the chaos of life. The modern art section was quite the contrast. Jackson Pollock's art caught my attention, with its sporadic yet purposeful strokes. It was raw, unapologetic, a direct connection from the artist's mind to the canvas. The freedom to interpret his art in my own way, alluding to the beauty of the chaos of human emotions, was quite an experience. Something about it just grabs your senses. Lastly, the arms and armor display, hearkening back to the knights and nobility era, was quite the spectacle. The daunting suits of armor, the craftsmanship of the weapons, it was as if I was watching a piece of historical cinema come to life. Each piece telling its own story of valor, conflict, and resilience. Here, in the midst of human creativity and history, I'm just a tiny speck submerged in the sea of time and art. Walking into McGee's pub, it's like crossing the border between reality and my favorite sitcom, How I Met Your Mother. The place is strangely familiar, as if I've been here plenty of times before. The spot where Marshall once announced his engagement, or the bar counter where Barney concocted all his wild theories, I can see it all. I find myself half expecting to be greeted by Lily's vivacious energy or Ted's heartwarming stories. Finding a spot at the bar, I order a pint, soaking up the ambience. The scent of ale and rustic wood, the murmur of conversations around me, the clinking of bottles. It's just how I imagined it. No, how I've seen it, on the screen. Only now, it's me here at McLaren's. I mean, McGee's. I indulge in my own little sitcom moment, a lead in my own story. I can't help but chuckle thinking I should be narrating my own epic tale just like Ted. Imagine that, How I Met Your Father. Wouldn't that be a riot? Where's the yellow umbrella when I need it, right? Taking a sip of my drink, I play around with the idea, let my thoughts run wild. There's something fun about this, taking one step beyond being just a viewer and actually stepping into the story. You know, it's this interactive experience, this combined sense of nostalgia and novelty that makes travels like this unique. I contemplate striking up a conversation with the stranger sitting next to me, perhaps stage a Barney-like strategy. Just in the spirit of the show, of course. But then again, this isn't a sitcom script, this is life. And in life, you sometimes just sit at the bar, enjoy your drink, and cherish the moment. But you know what? That's an episode I don't mind watching, or rather, living. Here's to serendipities and spontaneous adventures, right here in the heart of New York, at a pub I've known from a sitcom. There's something about the air of Herald Square that just screams vibrancy. It's like all the big brands are staging a silent yet fierce competition, merely by standing tall and basking in their own aura. Each store seems to tell a unique story. I could almost decode their strategies just by the way they've set up and positioned themselves. One store employs simplicity and minimalism in its window display, weaving the story of sophistication. Another store goes all out with vibrant colors and playful props, catering to a demographic that thrives on spontaneity and adventure. Each brand carefully crafting a world of their own, drawing people in and making them feel a part of something bigger. I pause by a store that resonates with my chic style, a mix of comfort and elegance. And that's what clever branding does, isn't it? Connect on a very personal level, designing experiences and not just pitching products. It's interesting to observe how I am gravitating towards these unspoken narratives. A local walks past, humming a catchy tune that's been on repeat in one of the stores, I think, subconsciously being a part of this grand marketing symphony. The unique interplay between the brand and the people, at both conscious and subconscious levels, is truly fascinating. As the evening settles in, the lights of Herald Square set a different mood. The glow from the window displays enhances the surreal experience, and for a moment, I am lost in this branding labyrinth, a silent participant in their enigmatic play. Stepping into Small's Jazz Club, an immediate wave of raw music descends on me, bouncing off low ceilings. It's jazz, all right, unpolished and real, just like New York itself. The brick walls, dim lights, and vibrant murals feel like they've absorbed jazz for decades, and now they're radiating it back out, along with a sense of history. As I find a seat among the eclectic crowd, casual yet intense, I can't deny the steady undercurrent of excitement coursing through me. The jazz quartet steps onto the intimate stage, nonchalantly tuning their instruments, a saxophone, a piano, a double bass, a drum set. From the first note struck, the room transforms. The drummer starts off with an easy rhythm, soon complemented by the honeyed tones of the saxophone. The pianist's fingers dance on the keys, and the bass echoes with a quiet intensity. I close my eyes and let the music wash over me, a river of sound that carries remnants of human stories. It's as if I can touch the artist's passion, and it's infectious. Slowly, as the melodies morph and change, I can feel the crowd swaying along with me, everyone drawn into a shared emotional journey. The saxophonist takes us through an improvised solo. It feels like a confession, and I find myself both a stranger and a guest in his melodic narrative. It's an experience that's entirely new to me, but also encompassing something truly universal. I find myself tapping along with the beat, pulled into the impromptu ensemble of foot-tapping, head-nodding jazz lovers around me. Looking around at this underground den of jazz, it strikes me how this raw energy, this spontaneous creativity, has had an impact not just on music, but on art forms around the world. The freedom, the improvisation, the harmony, they all hold parallels within my own art, and it makes me appreciate this jazz culture even more. My mind is now buzzing with colors, sounds, and rhythms, new inspiration for my next artwork gently simmering. The quartet takes a break and a duo steps up, their joyful banter and easy laughs seeping into their performance, making the atmosphere feel even more intimate, if that was possible. In a captivating interplay of story and music, they keep me entwined with their mesmerizing rhapsody, something that I've only ever felt with visual arts. They have turned this small club into a universe of rhythm and emotion, of humanity. I find myself smiling, drawn to this shared sense of community, this love for music. Walking along the pathways, I can't help but feel a wave of tranquility wash over me. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden is truly a haven amidst the hustle and bustle of the city. It's the third day of my trip, and so far it's been a medley of art, culture, and delicious food. But there's something special about reconnecting with nature, even if it's within the confines of a structured garden. The morning air is crisp, laced with the faint aroma of blooming flowers. It's undeniably soothing, something I didn't realize I missed until now. Flora and fauna from around the world have made this place their home. Lush green trees, exotic flowers, tiny critters scurrying about. It's a riot of life and color, and that's what makes it so charming. I've always found a sense of familiarity in the chaos, reminding me of my paint palette teeming with colors, Yersai. Aligning my breath with the rhythm of the rustling leaves, I settle down for a quick meditation session. Time seems to slow down, and for a moment, I forget about everything else. The familiarity of the Korean bell chime fades in, grounding me. My eyes flicker open and the garden seems different. A fresh perspective, maybe. There's a group in the distance performing Tai Chi, their movements elegantly synchronized. I appreciate their dedication and humility, silently wishing to incorporate aspects of it into my life. Meanwhile, a squirrel scampers by, carrying an acorn almost as big as itself. It's nature's art unfolding in real time, and here I am, privileged enough to witness it. Maybe it's the peaceful vibes of the garden or the calm of the morning, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now. Deciding to seize the moment, I fish out my sketchbook from my bag. I've somehow gravitated towards a bench overlooking the Japanese hill and pond garden. It's a stunning panorama, draped in hues of green and gold, a perfect subject. I've always had a knack for capturing landscapes and cityscapes. Their beauty lies in their raw and unfiltered form. Surrounded by nature, pencil in hand, and a sense of calm, I realize this is my kind of perfect. My hand glides across the page, sketching the serene scene in front of my eyes. I notice a little boy watching me curiously, awestruck by my scribbles. In the midst of being a keen observer, I've become the observed. He proclaims that I'm an artist. His innocent appreciation fills me with warmth. I hand him a pencil. Sketching becomes our nonverbal communication. In the spontaneity and serendipity of it all, I find the trip enriching. My sketch, and a budding artist's first masterpiece, serve as reminders of this beautiful encounter. Standing in the heart of Chelsea Flea Market, every corner of this place is exploding with vintage charm. Each of these items carries a story. An old-fashioned typewriter, pre-loved trinkets, antique furniture, they all have secrets. I find myself wondering about the tales they'd tell if they could speak. Can't wait to capture some of these interesting elements in my next painting. Here's a worn-out leather suitcase with travel decals from places I've never heard of. I picture the journeys it must have gone on, the places it's seen. It's like I can almost feel the ebbs of nostalgia washing over me. There's a certain beauty in the way these objects bear the weight of time elegantly. I'm savoring this atmosphere, trying to imbibe the essence as much as I can. The whole place has a soundtrack of its own. The occasional laughter, whispered negotiations, the chime as a shopper opens the door of a store. Combined with the rhythmic rustle of the fall leaves under my feet, it only enhances the charm of the market. Browsing through the variety of stalls, the thrill of stumbling upon an unexpected gem, shopping here is a joyous treasure hunt. One of the vendors, an elderly man with a sparkle in his eyes, talks enthusiastically about a handcrafted brooch from the 1920s. Just listening to him, the brooch, already beautiful, gains a more profound meaning. His passion for the item, his keen knowledge of its history opens up a whole new perspective for me. I can't help but purchase it immediately, a beautiful keepsake of this visit. Each item here, once an integral part of someone's life, is now waiting for a new home. A faded black and white family photograph catches my attention, the edges worn and tattered, evoking a sense of curiosity. I wonder what their Sundays must have been like, their dinner conversations, the fights and the laughter all now lost in time. These unsettled thoughts, emotions I experience just by looking at these items, it truly adds depth to my field of inspiration. This Gallery 456, is something else. I've seen countless exhibitions in Seoul, but there's something so familiar about these pieces before me. The color palettes are reminiscent of the traditional paintings my grandmother had in her home in Shanghai. Suddenly, I'm a little girl again, watching her paint in the faint evening light. A painting in the corner caught my eye. It's a contemporary piece that seems to blend traditional Chinese motifs with modern themes. I'm reminded of my own work, often torn between my cultural roots and the dynamic, eclectic influences of Seoul. It's fascinating to see how these artists, just like me, have translated their dual identity onto the canvas in their own ways. There's a collection of sculptures in the next room. This one tall, slender piece reminds me of a folktale my dad used to tell me. The one about a scholar who turned into a crane after a lifetime of idyllic solitude. The crane, so delicately carved, seems to hold a silent story. It takes me on a trip down the memory lane, connecting myth and magnificence in a perfect harmony. What an experience this has been. It's leaving my mind ablaze with ideas. I can't wait to transfer some of them onto a canvas. Maybe that crane, soaring high in the steel gray sky, steeped in myths and legends. Yes, that could be my new painting. A tribute to tradition, sprinkled with a splash of contemporary. Just as I was deep in thoughts, I realized I wasn't alone. A fellow artist, perhaps? We started exchanging ideas, our passion for art becoming a common language bridging any barriers of nationality. He came from a village in Guangzhou, said he sees his country's rich history as a vast, inexhaustible canvas. His words resonated with me. Stayed a bit longer than intended, but every minute was worth it. With new pounds of inspiration, I'm excited to see where this journey takes me next. Looking out the window, that skyline, the twinkling lights of Columbus Circle spread out beneath me as the city comes alive in the evening. Just incredible. The way the cityscape blends into the darkness, it's as if centuries of history and millions of stories are swathed under this starless night. And right here, in the midst of all this spectacle, I'm indulging in a culinary journey at Robert. Didn't know scallops could taste like this. Seared to perfection, and that orange saffron sauce. I mean, the flavors are just dancing on my tongue, deliciously decadent. A burst of citrus, the gentle sweetness. And then this surprising hint of anise at the end. Goodness, I'm in gourmet heaven. It's not just about satiating the hunger, it's about satiating the senses. Around me, soft murmurs of conversation and the clinking of cutlery, mingling with an unobtrusive tune playing in the background. This place has ambiance down to an art. Oh, look at that couple. They seem to be celebrating something. Maybe an anniversary? How lovely. There's something intimate about dining here. It's subtle yet pronounced. Amusing, isn't it, to have a restaurant in a museum? Well, art isn't only what you see on a canvas or a sculpture. It could be that dish on your table which the chef cautiously curated, or the arrangement of the chairs in the room, right down to the lighting. It's fascinating how these art forms can coexist harmoniously in a single space, much like different perspectives in life. Funnily enough, right now I feel like one of those city lights outside, a tiny but important part of this vast, incredible system. I'm not simply dining, I'm submerged in an experience, soaking in every morsel of flavor, every sound, and every sight this place offers. The heavy silver spoon in my hand, the warm glow from the overhead lights, the distant sounds of traffic, all forming an exquisite sensory symphony. So this is Stryver's Row, famous for its architectural beauty and deep roots in New York's history. The rows of houses lined up all neat and tidy, each with their unique doors and detailed carvings. It's like an open-air museum. Glancing around, I can see the different styles, from Italianate to Queen Anne and Renaissance Revival. These houses, they fairly breathe with the stories of the people who lived here. I can almost hear the clatter of horse-drawn carriages, feel the weight of the decades. I've got my sketchbook out, ready to capture this vibrant stillness. As I'm setting up my sketch pad, a woman bumps into me. She apologizes, glancing at my sketch pad. Her eyes spark with curiosity and recognition. She, too, is an artist, drawn to Striver's Row for its overwhelming charm and character. We exchange a quiet smile, an unspoken bonhomie in this shared love for art. She moves on, leaving me with a renewed fascination for this place. I start penciling the distinct contours of the houses. I focus on every nook and cranny, the ornate detail on the door, the elegant curve of the arch. Each line on my canvas is a whisper of stories untold, a chapter in the book of life this place encapsulates. I imagine warm family dinners, laughter echoing off the walls, hushed whispers of secret love stories. Every building here holds more tales than a dozen novels. But you know what is intriguing? As I sketch, it's not just about capturing the physical truth of what I see. More than that, it's about recording my emotional responses as well. How the textures make me feel, the light playing hide and seek through the facades, the way my heart skips a beat at the sheer elegance of it all. It's a unique language only fellow artists like the woman before could understand. So I continue my sketch, tracing the elegance of decades onto my canvas. Through my eyes, the pencil, the paper, the architecture of Striver's Row unfolds into being. I feel energized, inspired, watching the scene come alive onto my paper. And through my art, for a fleeting moment, I feel an undeniable connection to every artisan who left their marks on these walls. For now, this place exists in two spaces, reality and my sketchbook, connected through my interpretation. And that is truly beautiful. The heartbeat of Wall Street's financial district is something else entirely, you guys. There's a tangible buzz in the air that you can feel tingling on your skin. Every person here, whether in a hurry or lazily strolling, seems to be emanating some kind of energy. The sight of the towering corporate buildings, as if they're scraping the sky, gives you this awe-inspiring sense of largeness. Everything around appears grand, ambitious. And, it's intimidating, but in an inviting kind of way. As I stand here, surrounded by these monstrous edifices of success, I can't help but feel a bit small. But there's something alluring about it, too. About the prospect of being a part of something this overwhelmingly massive. It's quite a paradox, this place. A gentle reminder of how tiny we are in the grand scheme of things, yet at the same time, showing us the limitless potential we can achieve. Walking down these streets, I can't help but think of all the dreamers, the artists, the suitcase-toting corporate executives who walked here before me. In a city like New York, especially in a place like Wall Street, you're never truly alone. You're threading a shared path with those who had the resilience to make it, and those still chasing their dreams. It's oddly comforting, like a pat on the back from an invisible kindred spirit, whispering, "Keep going." Makes me think, maybe I'll paint this moment, This feeling mold into a series of brushstrokes of standing small yet big on Wall Street. How do you even capture something as intangible as potential, as aspiration, on a canvas? It's a thought, something to ponder upon. Oh, look at that hot dog stand across the street. It's intriguing how amidst all this grandeur, you still have these humble little stalls pleasing the taste buds of business elites and tourists alike. Something about these small delights in a metropolis of overwhelming ambition and success just feels right, It's also a bit ironic, don't you think? Big shots in business making fortune-changing decisions, yet needing these little delights. Makes you realize that no matter where we stand in life, some things remain constant. The laughter, random conversations with strangers, even the honks of the cabs rushing by, somehow fit perfectly into this very New York experience. An implausible yet harmonious mix of chaos and calm. I'm here at Katz's Delicatessen, a place famous among both locals and tourists. With a history dating back to 1888, standing in line itself has a sense of anticipation, filling the room with an atmosphere of delicious expectancy. I can almost taste the pastrami sandwich, which is making my taste buds tingle with excitement. I watch with fascinated eyes as the sandwich artist masterfully crafts the sandwich, stacking layers of deliciously brined, smoked and boiled pastrami on rye bread. It's served with a side of tangy pickles, a delightful crunch to accompany the mountain of meat. As I sink my teeth into the sandwich, I can taste the perfect balance of fat, seasonings, and smoke. The pastrami is amazingly tender, almost melting in my mouth. With each bite, I feel as if I'm savoring a unique part of New York's culinary history. Around me, the diner buzzes with voices and laughter, giving it an immeasurable aura of liveliness. Snippets of conversations, the clanging of utensils, the remarkable cosmopolitanism which is so quintessentially New York, it all adds to the dining experience. My eyes drift to an old framed photo on the wall, provoking a moment of thought about this deli in its early days. The sense of legacy is clear, achieving a certain level of timelessness. A kind local, noticing my interest, shares a story about the photograph, enriching my experience here at Katz's. I jot a quick sketch of the counter into my sketch pad, wanting to remember this aspect of my journey. Every detail from the deli's worn countertops to the chatter in the background gets etched in the paper, capturing a slice of New York I've come to know. Reflecting on the moment, I realize how even the simplest meal can become an experience when anchored in so much history and tradition. Here I am, standing on the top of the Rock, 70 stories up, overlooking Manhattan. A sprawling world of twinkling city lights that stretch as far as the eye can see. Isn't it just spectacular? The vibrant cityscape laid out below me is truly mesmerizing. I can feel the pulse of the city, its energy, its rhythm. Yet from up here it's peaceful in a way that's hard to describe. The cool evening breeze brushes against my face and I can't help but close my eyes for a moment, just to take it all in. The sound of the city beneath, the smell of the high-altitude air. They say New York is a city that never sleeps, and I can see why. Every light represents a story, a life unfolding beneath the stars. And here I am, a small part of this gigantic canvas, a participant in the grand narrative that is New York. There's a young couple not far from me, attempting what seems to be their 10th selfie, trying to capture the perfect moment. Their laughter echoes around. It's infectious. It's these little interactions, spontaneous moments that seem mundane but feel so special, that make travel worth it. Looking at this magnificent view, I'm reminded how much I love painting cityscapes. The blend of vibrant city lights with the calm night sky would make for quite a masterpiece, don't you think? But try as I might, I doubt I could truly capture the magic of this moment on canvas. Still, it's an enticing challenge. A group of tourists from overseas just asked me to take their picture. Their excitement so palpable it's contagious. Language barriers, different backgrounds, but all of us found ourselves here at the same time, sharing this singular experience. It's a strange sense of connection and a warmth that's so uniquely New York. I can't wait to see where tomorrow takes me,